welcome to Midwest Paratalk Radio. Midwest Paratalk Radio is brought to you by WMPP Digital Broadcasting. You can catch Midwest Paratalk Radio on all podcast platforms as well as on YouTube at Midwest Paratalk Radio. And here are your hosts, Deb and Greg. And welcome to Midwest Paratalk Radio. I am G. That is Deb. I didn't get it wrong this time, Deb.
Hey, about time. I got tired of being Greg.
Yeah, well, you should be so fortunate. So we have a cool show for you guys coming up tonight. Boonville, Indiana Paranormal Society, BIPS. Founders, Billy and Felicia Skinner, will be joining us tonight. We'll go ahead and unmute them there, too. Hey, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So we've got a little bit to talk about. I think that I want to get our audience familiar with BIPS and kind of how you roll and how you investigate, and any, paranormal stories you'd like to share, anything that stands out in your minds. And we'll just kind of, roll from there. So I think first off, the first question that I want to get into, why and when did you found the group?
Well, for a long time, I investigated with just a group of friends in Ohio for around 6 years or so. And we didn't do it, professionally or seriously. We did it more of as an enthusiast type thing. And then I moved over here to Indiana, and I really kind of missed doing it. And I was like, well, I mean, there's really no group around here for me to join, so why not start my own? Not to mention, we didn't want to just do like your pay-to-play investigations. We wanted to even take it a step further and go to offer help to people who wanted answers for certain situations that they had going on in their homes.
Right.
And I think that's how we kind of got our start.
Right on. Now, with forming the group, and that was one of the things that I was really happy when I found you guys, because the lack of paranormal groups in this southern area of Indiana, I mean, you would be lucky to find a needle in a haystack with a paranormal team.
Absolutely.
And we have you to work with.
Oh, thank you. And I worked with a couple. Dang, Deb.
Sorry.
Smoke another one. Fuck. So I love her. But I worked with a couple different teams before I actually found you guys, and kind of did my research on your page, and it just didn't vibe with how I investigate on what I do. It was more of like a fake TV platform kind of thing. So I was really fortunate to find you guys. Now, Billy, you're the demonologist.
That's correct.
How did you kind of fall into that role? Like, how did you fall into it? How did you study to learn the craft?
So I fell into that role because I have somebody that I actually really look up to. His name's Bill. He is a demonologist for another team, and he kind of guided me down the road to demonology. As you and I both know, there's no real study platform that you can take to kind of prepare yourself to kind of look into those kind of things. So you have to kind of find somebody that knows the role, or that has been doing it for a long time, and really kind of learn from them. And it was more of like on the job type training that he taught me. Some of the things that he taught me, we did over the phone, because a lot of it happened during like the COVID areas and stuff like that. So, we didn't have a whole lot of face to face, but for the most part, my calling to that just kind of came. I woke up one day and I was like, you know what, I want to delve more into this. I want to, see what it is that a demonologist does. And then at that point I was like, okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and pick people's brains and do what I need to do to learn this, because let's face it, bad things are out there and somebody needs to know how to deal with them. I'm not saying that I'm an expert yet in that field by any means. I have a long way to go for that, but I am learning every day. I take time to try and learn a little bit more. But
right. Well, it's one of those things that even in the whole paranormal field, there's always more to learn.
Absolutely.
People say, "Oh, I'm a paranormal expert." Well, no, really, you're not, bro. Because seriously, if you think about it, there's so much that we don't know, even being seasoned investigators, that it just sometimes stuff will hit you sideways and you're like, I've never seen this before,
Right.
and it's always, it's just like school, you're always learning.
Every time we go out to an investigation, it's that same thing. Like, we're always learning something new.
Mm-hmm.
We try this stuff tried and true, and then we'll try something that's off the wall and get results, and it's always learning.
Right. And that's the cool thing I think about it, is that you can always try something new, and when it profits that evidence, that coup de grace, it's like, how come we've never done this before? That kind of feeling,
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool. So Felicia, tell us a little bit about you, why you got into the paranormal. Tell us about your gift.
So I kind of got into the paranormal because I'd experienced some things, just in a nutshell, of just like, experiencing things. And I think that's how a lot of us get into it, is we experience our own experiences. And then we're like, why did this happen? And you want to learn more about it. So I'm the team medium, and I don't like using that word medium, because usually you hear the word medium and it's like, oh, it's somebody that charges people for readings and that kind of stuff. So
Right.
I hate the word, but that's what we're called, as mediums. And
well, I'm a large.
I'm an extra small. But I got into it so I could help people and get answers for people, pretty much. There's been a lot of people that I think I've blown their mind, and sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's not, but I've enjoyed doing what I do.
Right. Now, have you always had that gift, or is it just something that kind of has manifested the older that you've gotten?
I'm going to say that the older that I've gotten, and the more, I hate to say it, but trauma that I've been in.
Zero.
And Zero, the paranormal dog. The more, I think, trauma that I've been through, I've recognized a lot more things too.
Yeah.
I've noticed that people with those abilities have trauma, and they actually end up having abilities that are really cool.
Right. And the thing is that I think what's really neat about the paranormal field is that when we're kids, we see things under our bed. There's things in our closet, and parents condition us to go, let's make believe, you're just making it up. You don't know what's going on. There's nothing in there. I'll look, see, there's nothing there. And they condition children, parents condition their children to not be scared like that, to passively, it's nothing, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But
or is their imaginary friend.
Right. Yeah. Imaginary friends are the best. No, you don't have an imaginary. Well, yeah, I do. And such is right here. Or, yeah. And I think being one, paranormal investigators, and two, having medium abilities or even sensitive abilities, that it's kind of reversed for us. It's kind of like it's a yo-yo. You know, we're told that when we were kids, and then we start having things happen to us, and then we kind of revert back to opening ourselves back up and realizing, hey, there really is something going on. You
Yeah.
know, and I think that's a cool thing, one, about paranormal, like I said, paranormal investigators and mediums and sensitives all together, is that we reopened our eyes.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term, that third eye popped open and went, hey, that's what that is. You know what I mean?
I
think
think all paranormal researchers are a little bit psychic. That's what draws us into it.
That's what I was going to say. I think everybody is born with the ability. It's just that our parents at some point were like, that's the book, it's not the boogie bin underneath your bed. It's your imagination or whatever. And so you end up just blocking that out of your mind because you're like, oh, I'm just imagining things. It's not real. And then once you become an adult and stuff happens or you see something and then you just run with it, you're like, oh, okay, now I can do this or see this, or it blows your mind when you start actually like focusing into it.
Oh yeah, 100%. Now, why did you fall into the paranormal field as a whole, Billy?
So growing up, we all have fond memories of like visiting our grandparents' houses and things like that. Well, for me, while the memories were fond, some of them were not so much. I remember going to their houses and the lights would come on for no reason, or, there would be somebody standing at the top of the stairs or the foot of the bed. And anytime I would bring that up, my grandma and grandpa would just kind of smile and be like, oh yeah, that happens around here sometimes. And nobody would really talk about it. And as I got older and the paranormal field became more of a mainstream thing, I was really drawn to it because of those experiences. And I was like, you know what? I would like the answers to the experiences that I had as a child to be able to give those answers and closure to other folks. So they're not like, oh, wow, I wish I would have had somebody around because that's where I was at.
Right. And I think that, and that's another reason why I'm really glad that I met you guys, because it's not only just about, I mean, a lot of the times, even, the pay to plays are more, let's go have fun and let's see what we can get and let's do this. But on that flip side of that coin, when somebody reaches out and says, look, I've got this serious problem. I don't know what's going on. It's scaring me. It's doing things to us. Help.
Exactly.
And,
it's a different dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's when, you put your 6-shooters on and you go out and we, help this family and do what we can for this family. And, a lot of it too is I've found, like with situations like that, is that the family members want to have that validated to them. They want to know, okay, I'm not nuts. This is actually going on. Okay. Now where do we go from here? So when and I'm leading up, this is going to be a good segue. So you can write this down, Deb. This is going to be beautiful. So when a family reaches out to you and we're able to go out and do that, how do you go about the process of, okay, we've done the investigation, we have the evidence, we have the EVPs, we have the pictures, we have the video. All right, depending, let's just call it they just want to have the house cleared. In that line of work, what would be done to be able to clear that house for that person?
Well, it starts with figuring out exactly what you're dealing with, because a lot of people think that the answer to it is just throw some holy water at it or some sage and that's that. It's much more complicated than that. You have to figure out what you're dealing with. Listen to your EVPs. What is this thing saying to you? Is it asking for help? If it is, try your best to actually take care of what it's asking for. Sometimes it's as simple as that. Then other times you're going to have things that are malevolent, that are less than healthy for the family to have in there. And that's where your sage and your holy water and your house cleansings and blessings can come in and help. Salt is a big one that we use. Palo Santo, some people don't know about that one. But it is also a very good incense to burn to get rid of negative energy. But again, figuring it out and what it is and what it wants is the biggest thing. Your EVPs are priceless in that aspect.
A lot of times, sometimes those spirits, regardless of what they are, just want to be validated that they're there. Sometimes they just want you to know that they're there in that residence or whatever. So, sometimes it doesn't even have to go to a cleansing or anything like that. It could just be acknowledging that they're there. Be like, this person's here. So, hey, spirit, name, how's your day been? I hope you have a good day. The weather's looking beautiful outside. Just sometimes just that just calm, letting them know that, they're there and it's okay. Felt like a lot of the stuff will just stop sometimes just with that.
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't stop at that point, teaching the family how to coexist with these folks, because I always tell folks, you've got to realize that was their home first. How would you feel if this family moved into your house? You don't even realize what's going on because maybe you don't even know that you're gone and that you've passed. So now you have these invaders. I mean, I don't know about you, but most people treat invaders with a little bit of violence, like
hostility.
Right. Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
I wouldn't like somebody going into my house and changing my wallpaper and changing my dishes.
Right. Or doing full renovations.
Yeah, that stirs up
exactly
activity a lot of times.
Yeah. And that's why. Yeah, one thing that I agree 100% with is 85% of activity is just wanting acknowledgement. Acknowledge me. If I'm talking to you and you're ignoring me, I'm going to do everything that I can to get your attention to say, hey, here I am. I mean, I've had instances here at the house that we're in with the dogs where the dogs will get keyed up and they're staring off into nothingness. And I can say, yeah, I know you're here, but could you please leave the dogs alone? And, 2 minutes later, the dogs are laying down sleeping.
Right.
And that's another big thing. That's another big thing is like setting up your boundaries too. If there's something that's in your house and setting up those boundaries, being like, say this entity is waking you up in the middle of the night or is banging the cupboards or doing something crazy, just being like, hey, I don't mind if you tell me that you're here, but when we go to bed, that's my sleep time. So I need you to be quiet then. But, if you want to, let me know that you're here during the daytime when I'm here, that's fine.
Right.
Setting up those boundaries is really good.
Well, and, we've had this conversation in meetings and whatnot. I mean, each individual has the power to do that. I mean, some people, they think, well, there's just nothing I can do about it. But your faith belief, your integrity, your internal fight, you are in charge. Yes. And a lot of people, they don't look at it like that, but you are in charge. You are the, for lack of, I won't go anywhere to where if this ever gets monetized, they'll unmonetize anybody. I mean, you're the head person in charge.
And I think your energy, the energy that you project out into the environment has an effect on what happens around you too.
Yes, they feed off of that energy.
Yeah, positive and negative. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've seen that firsthand, actually.
Well, I mean, since I've been with you guys, I mean, we've talked about it more than once with issues that have arisen,
Yeah.
and just
Since
it just
Greg and I started doing EVP stuff together and goofy like we act, we've gotten some funny EVPs. So
we have,
so I think
and
that's a good indicator.
right, and somebody set me up, um,
Tell
and
them you're
doing
busy.
I didn't even answer it. No, shut up, leave me alone.
Uh,
You know what I'm doing. Now, equipment wise, there's a lot of equipment that you have in your arsenal. We're talking, everything from cameras to REM pods to, voice recorders and so forth and so on. What's your favorite to work with?
I'll be honest, like I'm with you. I like the just the old school. Give me an EVP recorder and a oh crap.
K2 meter.
Yeah, there you go. K2 meter, maybe a mel meter. That's usually my go-to. The fancier stuff's nice, but it's all of that is still kind of untested. I mean, it gets used on a regular basis, but
Right.
There's no real way to know that it's as good as what we hope it is.
Right. See, I like the idea of the Obulus, but I hate the presentation of the Obulus. The thing with the Obulus for me is that it's an electronic device which could have, the whole dictionary programmed or downloaded onto a chip on that device, and it's just random, and that's one of the things that, I mean, if somehow we could, I don't know, work it out to where it wasn't random, it would be even better. But I mean, pipe dreams. I do enjoy using a ghost box. The thing about the ghost box is I hate listening to the audio to the ghost box.
In review.
Yeah, that's all you hear. I'm like, God.
Yeah,
I got
that too.
five minutes of that, and just fuck, I'm done.
And that's why we like the portals.
I was going to say the ghost portal is one of my favorites
because you use that noise gate to basically filter out all of that static and dead space, but it still allows stuff to come through like it should.
Right. Yeah.
And with me being hard of hearing, it makes it really easier for me to hear things, because if there's that static going on and then something else is talking in there, I can't hear it, and for nothing.
Right.
That's why I don't do audio, by the way.
Yeah.
But I like it because I can actually hear when things are coming through.
Yeah.
Like one time it asked us for pizza. I know. I wanted a slice of pizza.
I mean, okay. Did you offer, or did you give it pizza?
So we were sitting with the group and we were all eating because our dinner had just got there. Yeah. And I forget exactly how it went down, but for some reason one of the spirit boxes was on. And
it was the portal.
It was the portal,
it was the portal, and
it came through and it says, I want a slice.
I want a slice. And we're just like, huh?
It's like, oh, okay.
Right.
Get your own pizza.
I'm not giving you a slice, you son of a bitch. Though, it would have been interesting, though, if you had a pizza slice offering for that, and what would have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, would it have moved? Would it have levitated? Would it had, miraculously, and I've never seen this, and I think if I did, I might be overexcited about it, but if a bite was taken out of it, I'm just saying, hey, I'm fat. I'll eat some pizza.
No, absolutely.
Shit.
I think that's the number one thing that us paranormal investigators get when we're out, because it could be delivered, is pizza.
Right.
Yeah. Pizza.
Yeah, for sure.
And the donuts and coffee.
Oh yeah.
At 3 in
every
the morning.
every investigation that Deb and I have ever had ever been on, she had brought all that.
I was the
It was
mom.
Yep.
Because I was older than everybody else, and I'm motherly anyway.
Oh, you're a mother, all right.
No, shut up. I still have it, a first aid kit. Okay. Who thinks of that when they're on a paranormal investigation? I've got hand sanitizer. I've got masks in case we go somewhere that's funky and moldy. You know, I had it all. I took care of everybody.
Right.
Make sure there's extra snacks, drinks, like whatever.
Right.
I do that stuff. It's crazy.
Hell yeah. You see, like, you said first aid kit and whatnot. Do you have an investigation where somebody, within the team, you, Felicia, you, Billy, that had actually physically scratched, pushed, pulled, needed the first aid kit?
I've
had an incident, but I haven't needed a first aid kit.
Yeah, we've never actually had to use it, thank God. But we have had team members that got hands-on, and most of them afterward were a little less than thrilled.
I was more confused because mine happened like I was asleep and I woke up. And I was like, after it happened, I was like, what just happened? Like, and in my rational mind, I was like, oh, it has to be so many of these other things. Like, I was like, maybe blood sugar or, something. I'm trying to rationalize in my brain what could have happened. And then it wasn't that at all.
Yeah. I was thinking back because I was kind of thinking about, first aid and whatnot. I've never been touched, pushed, scratched, bit, anything to where I would need any type of pause to say, oh shit, that hurt, which is really fortunate, to be honest. But with that being said too, do you think that is possibly one of the reasons how can I put this, of a faith system where if an investigator will go into a location that is known for this type of stuff, if their personal protection and faith system keeps them from getting that sort of thing, or do you think spirit can still push through that and be able to do what they want?
So I do believe that your faith system has a lot to do with it. But on the secondary portion of that, I also think it's how you approach what is there. I think just a tad bit, maybe a modicum of respect, even for the dead, might go a long way to prevent you from receiving said injury. Because a lot of the paranormal investigators that I've seen get injured to where they were bleeding or had bruises or bite marks, they're doing things that I don't recommend doing, like provocation, things like that. Like,
I don't
it's
like
playing a whole game of mess around and find out, and they do.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is like, I'm kind of with you. Like when I've been, now mind you, I had my one incident. When I've been awake or, just being awake, being, walking around doing these investigations, I've never been touched, pulled, had my clothing, nothing, my hair messed with, nothing like that. It took me to go to sleep for me to be messed with. And
when you let your guard down.
Yeah, I let my guard down, I guess. And that's when it happened. And that time it was pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. It was pretty bad. I was pretty scared. So, I mean, if you guys want me to tell you, I'll tell you, but
yeah, of course.
All right. So we were at the Davies house in Kokomo, and we had gone to sleep. When you rent that place out, you get it until later in the morning. So you actually get to rest after you investigate, unlike a lot of other investigations that we've done. So we went to bed, and most of the night we heard weird stuff like going across the roof, and we'd, walkie-talkie. We'd walkie-talkie back to each other. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? And of course, like some of them were like, I didn't hear nothing. And we're like, dude, how could you not? So we fell asleep, and the other team members had woke up around 8 o'clock, something like that, to start getting stuff packed up and loaded up. And they let me sleep in a little bit. And all of a sudden I had this strange feeling like I had to go to the bathroom right now, not later, now. So I got up, and usually when you get up from sitting down or laying down, sometimes your eyes will go black a little bit. And then within a few seconds, it'll come right back. So that had happened. And I remember just feeling real lethargic. And I walk into the bathroom. And this is why we have the rule in place. No locked doors.
Right.
I went in the bathroom and I sat on the toilet, and my body just I couldn't sit up. I was just laying on my legs. I couldn't get up. I had no energy. And I remember thinking to myself, man, you know what? I might need help. And so I look over at the door and I go, you know what? God damn it. I locked the door. Even if I wanted help, I'm not getting it because the door's locked. So I'm stuck in the bathroom. So I leaned up against the wall next to the toilet and mustered up the strength to wipe. And I was like, okay, if I can just get up and get the door unlocked, I can holler for Billy. And so I did. I mustered strength, get up, unlock the door, open the door. And I go, Billy, and I collapsed to the floor. And I couldn't explain it. I had no energy in my body. And even after I fell to the ground, my body was not close enough to the ground. It was I needed to be pancaked to the floor.
Yeah.
And so my brain automatically went to well, maybe my sugar's low. Hey, and Billy had come up. I heard Danny say something, and then Billy came up, and I go, can you get me a soda? So I tried drinking, some soda. He handed me a Mountain Dew. I tried drinking some of that. I could barely get my chin off the floor to even drink it.
We had to help her up.
And they still ended up having to help me up. But just that weird feeling of I couldn't be close enough to the floor. My chest couldn't get into the floor enough. It was weird. And then I went back into the room and I was I'm going to lay down for a while, trying to rationalize this in my brain, what's going on. And I guess later on in the evidence, they saw a shadow grab my shoulders and basically shoved me to the ground.
It was more like a face that followed her to the ground. But we didn't find any of this out until
way after
later on
when we went through
going through the evidence.
So, I mean, it was pretty scary because at that point in time, I just felt so lethargic and so just disoriented and out of it. I was I know I ate the night before. I know I drank. What's going on? Trying to debunk every little situation, in my brain, trying to figure it out. And I couldn't figure it out.
Right.
And the only thing that we found was that face. So
that's crazy. Do you have that on video?
Somewhere we do. Yeah. It's somewhere in the archives that we have. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to see that.
Show it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd love to see that.
A lot of our stuff, if somebody gets injured, and that's a big rule that we have, is if you get injured on site or something messes with you on site like that, we're not going to post that. We're not going to put that out there because, people can be, let's be honest, the world can be cruel and you're going through a vulnerable moment. So we usually don't post any of those. So you won't see them, but we'll talk about it, to some people. I'm more the one that's hey, go ahead. I don't care. Post it on there.
Right.
But some people don't like that.
You guys have a website?
Right now, we operate mainly off of our Facebook group.
Facebook.
We've toyed with the idea of a website. I just personally don't know as much about
and that's where Greg comes in.
The URLs and things like that you need to be able to build one.
This way. I don't know.
There you go.
Way.
And that's why Greg and I were talking. We should get together and discuss this. So.
Yeah. We're
figuring something out.
I know that we have the BIPS logo trademarked and stuff, so it's trademarked.
Yeah, our logo is actually ours. We went to a designer and had it designed, paid her to design it for us. So
she came up with my idea perfectly.
So
yeah.
a lot goes into founding something like this, and when I say I put blood, sweat, and tears into it, it has literally been that. It has literally been that.
Yeah, it's not all fun and games, and people
No.
think it is, but it definitely is not.
It's not. It has its ups and its downs and its trials and tribulations, just like any business would. Even though we're not for profit, we still have
funds that have to go out, gear that has to be
Exactly.
replaced, the millions and millions of batteries we go through.
Right. No kidding. I found a good source for batteries too. I'll share later.
Oh,
Cool.
yeah, because we're gonna need that.
I was like, Costco's been my best bet for right now.
I told her I'm gonna have to buy freaking stock and Energizer.
For real. So, as far as investigations, I know the Davies house is big on your list.
Yes.
But what other places have you investigated that it's one of those like we've got to go back? Definitely have to go back.
I got one.
Go ahead.
I got one. So we got hired per se. You know, we don't get paid for this, but we got, called out to do the historic Rickenbaugh house in Tell City, Indiana.
Wow.
And I think it's Tell City. What is
It's in the Hoosier National Forest.
Yeah, Hoosier National Forest.
Okay.
So the U.S. government owns that land. So we had to sign paperwork with the U.S. government for us to go out there and do an investigation, which was beyond mind-blowing and cool at the same time. And I'm not going to say it's one of those places where you're going to get like the most phenomenal evidence in the whole world.
Residual stuff.
You're going to get a lot of residual, but it's just an amazing place to go. It's really small. It's like a hand-built house. Every brick that's there has been hand chiseled, made in a cathedral style, cathedral style bricks that they actually made from the outcroppings of limestone behind the house. And I think the funniest moment was when we were there and the motion light kept going off. And it was really cool for the time.
It got frustrating.
It got annoying.
To be honest with you.
Because I started timing it. Like I sat there and I was like, counting 1,000, 2, 1,000 to time how long it would take for it to go on, how long it would take to go off, how long it was on for. And it was all random. But it just kept going off and on all night long. And I'm like.
And we went as far as to completely change out batteries in it. We changed out the entire motion sensor, everything, and it just would not stop doing it. So it was something that we couldn't explain. I even went as far as to like tape up the insulation that was hanging down in case a draft was moving it and setting it off. Yeah. And it still kept going. So there was absolutely no explanation for why that motion sensor kept doing what it did.
And man, can you get like 5 million anomalies in there? Like light anomalies. It's weird because it's in the middle of a forest. Like I think there's only one light out in the parking lot even. Mm-hmm. So you're not getting like a bunch of people like coming through or anything. Once it's closed, like it's closed. Nobody goes back there.
And it was cold too when we went. So there weren't any bugs.
No bugs.
Right.
And then the other cool thing that we got is they have this old loom in there, and you'll see it if you go to our Facebook page, you'll see some of the videos from there.
We called it the loom room.
We called it the loom room. And there's this old shuttle loom that's in there. And we were going back to some of our EVP recordings, and you can hear the shuttle on the loom go through it.
Yeah, and it sounded like it was sliding across. Like
it sounded like it goes shh, and it's not operational anymore.
Right.
So there was no reason for it. So there's like little things with that place. Like I just love it. And I mean, of course, the parks place, they sent out a couple of their rangers with us, and they actually investigated with us, and they were amazing. So
nice.
It was great. I love that place, and I recommend it for like people that just want to have some safe.
It's definitely, like I said, it's definitely more residual, but you'll get things like disembodied voices. Like we were upstairs or heading upstairs, up the stairs there, and the person that was pulling up the rear stopped, and they're like, "Shh, do you hear that?" And we all stopped and we were listening, and sure enough, you could hear mumbling down in the front part of the parlor. of
and
the
nobody
house.
was in there.
And there was absolutely nobody in there.
Or
wow.
the one where your aunt was walking up the stairs to put cords up with me, and a lady came, it sounded like a lady came up behind her and goes, "Hey," and you're like, hold up, like what? Like there's nobody but me and her in this building because everybody else was like doing other stuff, other places, and it was like it was right there next to your head that you could hear it, and I was like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, that's the best thing. Disembodied voices.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
It's I enjoy those almost better than EVPs.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
It's I mean, it's instantaneous. You don't have to take it home and put it on your
Yep.
computer and run it through the software. It's just like, oh, do you hear that?
And the only way a disembodied voice is better is if you can corroborate it off of your EVP and then on your cameras as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Like sometimes you'll pick that up.
It's awesome. I love that place.
Well, places like that are also kind of like a dime a dozen because you don't always have the opportunity to be able to investigate something like that. So Deb and I, we were allowed to go. Where was it up in? We went with all those planes and whatnot. Was that Grissom?
Grissom. We went up to the Air Museum at Grissom because it's got it has a reputation for being haunted, especially the planes. Some of the planes out in the field, they got all kinds of old planes out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
some were the originals and some were replicas of originals, but you could actually climb up in them, and people would hear tapping and hear the sound of engines revving and see people in them and all kinds of stuff. So we did an investigation, and it was stormy that night. You remember?
it was.
That once we moved inside to the museum part, we were outside in the beginning. We were outside in the field where all the planes are. And then we all moved inside, and it stormed like a moe. It was like, and I love storms because I love to investigate during thunderstorms. I feel like that electrical energy in the atmosphere just kind of helps, jumpstart
it's like
things.
a natural EM pump.
Yeah, for real. And that was really stormy that night. That was a cool place. That was very cool.
That would be amazing.
And we didn't get shit as far as EVPs on the inside.
Nope. No.
But we had a whole lot out by the actual planes and out in that field. I mean, there was just weird anomalous sounds coming from the field in the dark that wasn't explainable. Mm-hmm. It was just amazing.
And then one investigation we went on to, were you with us when we went up to Mississinawa, to the circle up there that's supposed to be haunted out in the middle of nowhere in the campground area?
I can't even say it, let alone been there.
I went, and it was supposed to. It was a big group I went with, and it was supposed to be a haunted place. This circle, up in Mississinawa, north of here, in the campground area, and we actually debunked the entire haunted thing because we discovered a bunch of drunk people riding horses around and they were trying to scare campers and stuff. So that night of our investigation, we actually discovered what the ghost was. So and that was interesting.
Here's another good segue. Write this down, Dave. This is great.
Shut up.
Have you guys, on previous investigations, have you been able to find a human ghost, somebody that was
like an actual person that's not dead?
Yeah.
Yeah. I really feel like we have. There's two specifically that I feel like we've made contact with. It's up in Davy's house. One ghost, her name's Deb.
Dude.
Never seen, obviously. But and then there is Rita, a ghost named Rita up in Rita's room. They're both very much there, I think.
Yeah.
Rita, she holds a little bit of a special place to us because it's almost a sad energy with her. She had some age regression due to some very traumatic abuse in life. One of her husbands would lock her in the closet of that house. And we actually picked up on video, and I think you've seen these videos, Greg, some banging. And I tried for days to debunk this banging. Like, I went back to every single camera. I synced them up and looked at them at the exact same time. Like, accounted for all of my team and everything. There was no way that none of our other cameras would have not caught this bang. It was so loud. The only person in that entire house that heard that bang was Zero.
The dog.
Aww.
The dog. She came right after the first bang. You see her come into the room. She jumps up on the bed. She looks around for a few moments, and then she starts looking back toward the doorway. And as she's looking back toward the doorway, you hear this second bang. And she just kind of looks at the door. Her ears perk up. She looks at the door again for a few seconds, and she jumps down off the bed and hauls ass out of the room. So
we had tapping. We heard knocks that night in that room. We recorded those, and they actually were like in response to requests. So it was like interaction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I can think of and that we have discussed is that we feel like the banging is her trying to get out of that closet. Like, maybe that's just something that she does to try to get attention, because that's how she had to get attention for so long.
Yeah. Like, when we first went to that house, there was still stuff in the windows to lock the windows down to where she couldn't get out, which was sad. And then that closet, I know Greg and Deb, you've both seen that closet in Rita's room. It's only maybe 1.5 feet deep.
Yeah.
If
it's
that.
Small.
It's so small. I couldn't even imagine being locked in something that small, because there's no way it could be any bigger. There's no way that they've closed it off somewhat or whatever, because the basement walkway goes right there.
Yeah,
So
there's open wall behind that. So those are the steps.
Yeah.
You know, the really cool thing about Rita's room that I found is it was the knocking, of course. The knocking for us, though, was against almost like the headboard. It was away from the closet, but I mean, it was so responsive, and it was so loud that Deb even asked, she's like, "Do you think that's a car door?"
Yeah.
Closing outside. I mean, the windows rattled, the wall shook. It was amazing, and I don't remember what question was asked, but either she really liked that question or it was really pissed her off, because she just, I don't know, one way or the other wasn't having it. And something else out of her room was, I think we got 2 really good EVPs out of Rita's room. One of them was like, if I remember, it was like, "I'm here" or "Rita's here." And the other one, when Deb and I do EVP sessions, we kind of take it at a lighthearted pace. So we kind of carry on a conversation where if it were just like now, just us talking, and we have gotten a lot of responses from that, to where, I mean, really good Class A EVPs just from doing that. So we decided, that's kind of how we were going to roll on this. And I made a comment about liking pickles. Do you like pickles? And the EVP comes back, "Pickles are good." I'm like, what?
Well, who do you suppose said gurgles?
Right now?
Do you think that was Rita that said gurgles?
I don't know if it was Rita, because we got that EVP was upstairs.
Yeah.
And when we got that EVP, Danny was on the cameras downstairs. Deb and I were upstairs, and we were the only ones in the house. The rest of the team had gone over to the other place.
Yeah.
And Deb's stomach, almost like she farted internally. She's like, gurgles in. You did.
My stomach was gurgling because I drank a Pepsi or Coke, bubbly,
Lion ass, you had to take a shit.
And I said, "Oh my God!" I said something like, "I'm Gurgles McGurgleson" or something like that. And this
Right.
EVP almost steps over me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it's clear that it's not me
Oh, yeah.
because it's like almost steps right onto the last sound of what I said. And it was just like somebody just gurgles, like right into the microphone. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
It was
bizarre.
very predominant. I remember that one. And
Yeah.
because it took me a couple of times of listening to it, because I was like, well, was that Deb talking, or was that?
No.
And it was not. No, there was a clear difference, and you weren't even finished talking when it
Right.
started saying something.
Uh-huh.
Right.
So yeah, there was definitely a separation there.
Yeah.
But something was getting a kick out of us being goofy and had to voice their opinion. That's why we goof around a lot when we do EVP sessions. Well, I don't like to stay real dark and you know, I want to be lighthearted and have my energy be light and try to bring in, you know, make the other side feel comfortable with me. You know, like I don't want to be disrespectful, but I also don't want to seem scary to them. You know what I mean? And I think that it worked because whoever it was kind of got a kick out of me saying
Right.
gurgles.
Well, I mean,
Right.
that's a very good point. Like because it's a conversation you're wanting to have, not an interrogation.
No.
I've heard people say that several different times. Like it shouldn't be an interrogation, and they're not wrong.
No, and if you can ask the same question 8,000 times, and if I'm a spirit and I've got like another guy asking me, you know, the same thing for the 50 millionth time, I'm like, I'm not answering you. You're
And why would you want to waste your energy on saying
Yeah.
it over and over and over again?
right. But I would say gurgles because that's
Right.
kind of funny.
Well, you know, I listened when during the analysis, and I listened to, you know, Deb, and what I found was when Deb was talking, it almost sounded like she was way further away from the mic. It was kind of scratchy, that whole recording. And even I was a little scratchy because, I mean, we set the EVP or the digital voice recorders away from us anyway. I think one was in the floor. And that gurgles was just so clear.
Yeah.
And we
just like this.
How did that go?
Gurgles.
One of the other little EVPs that we had from upstairs, and we were up there in the front room probably 11 minutes, and then you guys got back, and Billy had come upstairs, but we were talking about Thanksgiving and pies and, you know, and whatnot. And I just heard this today because I was playing these EVPs for my mother, actually. And we were talking about pies, and my question was, what was your favorite pie? And it was a two-parter because right after I said, what was your favorite pie, I heard apple. And then just a little bit after that, I heard pumpkin pie.
Well,
so
sounds like two different ones there.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back through and pull that EVP back and kind of listen to it and reanalyze it again, because I think I might have missed the pumpkin pie part or the apple part. But that place, it was cool. You know, that it you know, there's been claims, you know, of darker things that have happened, but it didn't affect us that night.
Thank
God. Yeah, it was.
I've been there when it does, and it's not fun.
Yeah, that's what
when
you're
I
saying.
when I go into a place that has a history of darker things, one thing I do before I go in is make sure my power is out there when I present forward when I come in with my energy, so that it knows right away I'm there, and I ain't playing around. In my head, I say, you do not have permission to mess with me, and you do not have permission to go home with me. You will stay here, but let's interact, you know? And I just, it's this frame of mind that I take in with me when I go to those places. And, you know, when I can only think of one place that I went in that I actually felt something negative. And I've went into a lot of places over the years where people have said there's negative stuff, but, you know, it's almost in my head. I can see them in the corner,
Mhm.
and they're looking at me like, but I'm like, we ain't having none of that business here tonight. And it's like, okay, you know what I mean? It's the way you project yourself and present yourself.
I always tell everybody it's like your energy is like this little light inside of you, and if you can just push it out and make it grow to put like this barrier around you of light, it'll help you protect you from things affecting and messing with you. Because I mean,
and it'll help the people around you also.
Yeah.
It can envelop an entire room full of people.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it was like Greg's saying, like 85% of your investigations are going to be just, not real crazy, scary, or dark. It's just more of, interacting with people that used to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've got that other 14% where it's going to be somebody who's upset about, something that happened. Maybe they died traumatically, or maybe they took their own life, this, that, or the other, and they're angry about it. And then you have that top 1%, that 1% that could possibly be what is referred to as demonic or evil. However you want to, say that, but that's just it. 1%.
And maybe even less, because in my mind, in the years that I've been, when I was a UFO investigator as well as paranormal, I feel like sometimes the things that we have contact with in these investigations that we do, the EVPs we pick up, even the videos, I don't always think that they were ever alive here. I don't think they're dead. And I think they're in an entirely different dimension. And we just happen to pass by each other briefly and become, and like that one EVP I caught 30 years ago. The first EVP I ever caught was the old guy saying, "Are the spirits listening?" And then a little voice behind him said, "Can I listen too?" And I had this epiphany. Oh my God, I am somebody's spirit somewhere, and somebody is listening for me. So, I think there's that too. Sometimes we get things that were never alive here, That's the fun part for me, trying to figure out which is which, or what we're doing, what we get here. And I feel that because I've been on the UFO side of paranormal research, and now this side, I've seen this dovetail. I've seen where, sometimes those worlds kind of cross and coexist for a little bit,
Right?
Which is interesting.
Which brings up a good question. While investigating or being out on investigations, have you guys had UFO experiences? Have you seen anything in the sky? Have you been visited by anything?
And don't be shy,
otherworldly?
because I got a history. So
Shit, you got more than a history.
You go first.
So I have seen some very unexplainable things, especially with my time in the military.
yeah.
I've been out in the middle of the ocean on an aircraft carrier or in a desert somewhere, and just when you're out and away from light, the things that you can see in the sky are unreal. Some of which are like, okay, that's a plane. All right, this is a satellite flying by. But when you see something that is flying about as low as a helicopter can, but for a fact it's not a helicopter, and it throws it into hover for a few seconds, and then you blink and it's gone. Okay. All right, I need to lay off the drugs. Because at that point, it's like, what else can you say? Like, I can't answer it. So, I mean, that's probably the closest thing that I've ever seen to what might be called a UFO, because UFOs, they're common, but at the same time, you got to sort out the real from the fake. There's a lot of people out there that'll say that they saw something, or they'll manufacture a video, and that's what makes our job as investigators hard. We have to figure out what's real and what's not. as best.
And there's a lot of misinformation, misidentification as well. There's honest people that see things and they misidentify it, and it's the investigator's job to.
Or it's the military using something that they haven't even let us know they have yet.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going around, I hear.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
I think the one that sticks out to me almost the most was I grew up in Arizona. I was used to being around the Air Force bases like Luke Air Force Base and stuff like that. And when we lived out in southern, outside of Phoenix, there's Maricopa County and there's Maricopa City. So we lived out in Maricopa City. So we used to see all the time, like the weird flares that they would shoot up, the flares that would just hover there.
Yeah.
And then just go out. So we knew what all those were. But then I was around for the Arizona lights that everybody talks about. And
the Phoenix lights.
The Phoenix
lights. And it was the weirdest thing to see in real life. And it was not explainable. Like they tried to say, it was just flares or whatever. And I'm like, no, I've been around those flares for like so long. I know what those do. Those were up in the sky way too long to be flares.
Yeah.
And they were moving coordinated. And we didn't have drones back then that had those pretty lights for light shows. We didn't have that stuff. Like,
nope.
What were they? And seeing them fly in such a V formation that was like, watching ducks fly, the Canadian geese fly in that V formation. They flew in that V formation. And whether it was one giant thing or several small things, I'll never know. But it was just really weird because it went across the whole city of Phoenix. And Phoenix is not small.
Oh, like, hundreds of people saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's Phoenix, Tempe, Chandler, Scottsdale. Like there's all these cities that are like smashed together, but it's huge. And it went across the whole thing. And everybody's all like, oh, it's just Phoenix lights. I'm like, and I've never questioned whether there's aliens out there. I mean, we know that they're there. There's no reason to even deny it anymore. And then, what it brings up the question of like, why is space even there? Well, obviously space is there for other things to live and survive. So obviously there's going to be something else out there. Why would there be planets? Why would there be other galaxies and stuff like that? There has to be other life forms out there, regardless of what they are. There has to be.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. And there's just so many questionable sightings that, the military can try to say, well, it was a weather balloon or, it was whatever. I remember, I'm old. As everyone keep this in mind, I'm old. Back right after 9/11, Deanna and I, my wife and I, just started dating, and I was walking her out to the car. And I happened to look up in the sky, and the V formation that you just described, I saw that in high atmosphere, but it was almost like the color of the lights of infrared. So our night vision.
Kind of greenish.
So, yeah, the greenish color lights, and it was in a perfect V formation, and it was moving synchronous. I don't know. They were moving the same way. God damn it, big words. And
tighten up them teeth, son.
Man, that's a whole nother story. But anyway, and I sat there, I watched him for I don't know, a really long time until I just couldn't see him anymore. But it never varied. It never acted like individual ships at all. It was all in line perfectly the whole way. It was kind of freaky. I mean, it's just stuff like that. It's just
you can find video of exactly that on the YouTube. Come out old. I've seen video. A friend of mine does. She lives in Sedona, and she does the UFO tours there. Melinda Leslie.
What you're talking about.
Yeah, she does the UFO tours there, Melinda Leslie, and she's got hundreds and hundreds of hours of video. And I've seen video they've caught out there on the UFO tours that are identical to what you're describing.
Really?
Yes, sirree.
There's a lot of pictures petroglyphs. There's a lot of petroglyphs and hieroglyphs up in the Indian reservation up off of like the Navajo and the Hopi and stuff like that up in northern Arizona, where you can see in those petroglyphs that there's other life forms that they've encountered that have come from the sky. So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all.
Are those documented?
I think a lot of them are. A lot of them are. I think you can. I think a lot of them you can Google them. I know they're in books because we got to see a lot of them in books, but also going there you get to see them too. So
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah,
I'm a firm believer in the ancient astronaut theory too. I mean, I think they've been here for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and I think humans have been where we're at before and screwed up and started all over maybe a couple times. I question everything. I do. And, even our history. Well, okay, we're taught history, from government and country and planet and, how do we know the dinosaurs really? How do we know their skin was that color or they had those? I mean,
Exactly.
So I think history is a little different than what we think it is. And I think it's a little longer than what we think it. I think people have been here longer. And like I said, I think we've wrecked the place and started over a couple of times. So, I mean, we have a propensity for that. So my brain goes wild. Anyway, that's why I love this sort of stuff. I fit right in.
You fit, yeah.
That's why we do what we do, is because we're into the extraordinary stuff that people can't explain. Like, how do you explain a light going off inside of Rita's room, like that toy, that duck that we had in the closet? Like, how do you explain that? That thing shuts off after 30 seconds. How do you explain it relighting back up hours later and nobody's touched it?
And it didn't. It's not one of those things that you just bump it and it goes off. You have to put pressure on the head, like,
to light it up,
for it to do that. Like, it was a pretty extraordinary thing, and I'm glad we've got that on film, actually.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm responding to chat.
Oh, so I was just thinking about something, like when you were asking about previous experiences and what kind of got us into paranormal investigation.
Yeah.
And this was probably the first time that I had ever done anything paranormal related. I remember I was dating this girl, and we were living in Blanchester, Ohio at the time. And she had a little son. His name was Bryson. And we had been having an issue with him, or what we thought was with him, because we'd, get up in the morning to go wake him up, and his toys would be all over the floor. And we'd step on them or kick them or trip over them. And we were getting frustrated with it. And we kept telling him, like, you can't be playing with your toys at night. You're supposed to be going to sleep. And he kept saying, like, it wasn't me. So one night I got this brilliant idea that I was going to plug in an iPad and turn on the camera on it and record. Now, mind you, I had taken the batteries out of his remote controlled car and the radio for it, the controller for it. And it was placed beside his bed, and the camera was pointed right at it because that was the most common thing to be moved around. And I went back over the video the next day, and I'm looking at it, and I'm going through the several hours of footage and liking to fall asleep at some point, because it's tedious. When suddenly it became not so tedious. The car actually lurches forward about 3.5 feet away from where it was resting. No batteries were in this car. No, nothing. And this was the first time that I felt this wave of cold wash over me when I saw this. Like, I was like, oh crap. Like, I was dumbfounded. And from then on, I was hooked. So I just remembered that portion of it. That
I think. I think my starter story. Like, I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. Like, we weren't allowed to believe in that kind of stuff You know, there was nothing, and then there's demons, and that's it. Like, done story. And I was in this apartment with my son Andrew and, of course, my ex-husband. And Andrew kept waking up every night, and he would get so scared he would throw up, like, everywhere because of what was going on in his room. And I thought, you know, it's his imagination, or he's having a nightmare or something, you know, because that's what we've all been told our entire lives growing up. So, you know, I'm like, you know, it's okay, buddy. You know, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. And he would tell me that the walls would crawl.
Wow.
And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I could see faces and hands and feet coming through the walls. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And so I don't think I truly believed him until I had my own experience in that same apartment. And I was pregnant at the time with my son, Gary. And I just happened to wake up because I had this eerie feeling. And I look up and there's this thing. That's all I can say it is a thing that was on the wall, crawling on the wall above my head. And it's looking at me. It's got these big, huge, like, golden eyes that are looking at me with these slits. And I just freeze. And I'm like, what the heck is that? And I watched it climb back because I was laying, like, you know, with my head by the wall, and I'm watching it crawl up the wall, you know, above my head. And then it goes across the roof and then goes into the air vent. And our air vents literally connected together. Like, my son's and my bedroom, like, our air vents connected together. And I remember just being so freaked out and wigged out that I ended up waking up my husband at the time and telling him, like, there was this creature above our bed. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, for real, there was this creature above our bed. And that's when he started listening to us. And then, you know, of course, we burnt sage and did all, you know, cleansings of our own in our house. And it started to get a little better for Andrew. Andrew's super sensitive, by the way. He can see and feel things that a lot of people can't. And he had started coming into the room and sleeping with me in my bedroom after my husband would leave for work. He'd come directly into my room and sleep with me. Mind you, he's like 5 years old. He's not even in school yet. You know what I mean? He comes in one night and he would have me leave my phone, like, on the bed with it lit up like that. And so I'd leave the screen lit up and we would go to sleep like that. And I remember him looking at me one day and he goes, Mom, who are those people behind you? There's nobody else in this room. It's just me and my son.
That would be freaky.
Yeah. And I look behind me and I'm like, there's just an open closet. And I'm like, Andrew, there's nobody there. He goes, yeah, Mom, there's these 3 people. There's 2 guys and a lady. The lady's got her, like, he started telling me what she was wearing. She's got, like, this bow in her hair and a real poofy dress. And the guy's got a top hat with a mustache that's kind of curly. And I'm like, what?
That's way too much detail.
That's
to be
way too much detail for a 5-year-old to be, you know, just, like, projecting out. And I'm like, well, buddy, maybe they're just watching over us, you know, while we sleep to make sure that we're okay. Because I had asked him, I was like, do they look angry? Do they look like, you know, that they're mad or anything? He's like, no, they look fine. They look happy. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe they're just, you know, watching over us that night. And that's when it really started to clue into me, like, especially from being a Jehovah's Witness. You know, I had seen things my entire childhood, but I denied all those things. I denied everything. I was like, no, you're not supposed to see that. You're not supposed to hear things. You're not supposed to. And having my son, like, going through it at the same time, it kind of, like, light bulb in my head just went off. Like, all this stuff I've been seeing and hearing my entire life was not fake.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it, you know, I started to look into things like, you know, what people see, feel, hear, you know, paranormal. Then I started watching paranormal shows, of course, with some questionable people that run them.
Zach Gaggins. That punk ass bitch.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna, like, out him on YouTube or whatever, but yeah,
I do it all the time, so it's okay.
But I started watching some paranormal shows and I was like, you know what? Like, this is real. And I had to come to terms with that in my own brain. And that was kind of my turning point too, as starting out as a medium, was knowing that what I was validated. Like, even just through my kid, I was validated that these things were actually real.
Mm-hmm.
And he continued to see things his entire life. And I never questioned him once after that. I was all like,
right.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell us about your encounter in Arizona.
Which one?
Well, I don't want to. The Skinwalker.
Oh, okay. So this is actually not my story. It's my mother's story. But my mom has since she's in a nursing home now, being taken care of. But my aunt who lives with me, she has dementia too now. But I wish they could tell it. So, my mom and my aunt, both Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't believe in the paranormal. They don't believe in that kind of stuff. They kind of believe in aliens because they believe that, something could be out there because there's space and there's a reason why God made all these things. So they believe in that kind of, but they didn't believe in all this other hocus pocus stuff that they call it. And so they were actually doing door-to-door work because that's what they do. They go out, knock on people's door. You want to hear the good word? But they had gone up onto the, oh my God, what is it? The Navajo reservation. And they were doing a Bible study with somebody. And when they came out, there was this lady, I'll call it a lady for now, that was out there. And there was another family member outside kind of arguing with this lady in Navajo, telling her that they wanted her to leave. And she had like a knife in her hand and blood on her. And so my mom, my aunt, and the other sister that was with them thought that maybe, she was just, slaughtering her own animal kind of thing. Because they do that out there, and, they'll kill their own animals and eat them or whatever. And so they were trying to encourage this lady to leave that's covered in blood, and she just wouldn't leave. And so the sister, being as sweet as those people can be sometimes, is like, well, I can give you a ride home.
Who does that? Who gives somebody with a knife and blood on them a ride? I just want to put that
right. Yeah. Hold on.
Okay, so I mean that's so questionable, but they're godly people. They're gonna do the good thing.
Hey, I don't care how godly you are.
I'm right.
You walking up the street with a knife and blood. Hey, that shit is done. I'm going home.
Right.
My mom and my aunt kind of look at, they had, looked at each other, and they had said that they looked at each other like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you letting this person get in the car with us? Especially since the lady only needed to be taken across the street. Like,
okay,
maybe 100 yards, maybe 200 yards. I mean, max 500 yards, max a football field away. Okay. She can walk. Okay. So they get in the car, and this person, I don't know what they were in, like a minivan or something. So she gets in the back, the lady in blood gets in the back seat. My mom and and the sister are up in the very front. My aunt's in the back, but not in the very back with the lady. So they get her in the car, and my mom goes, she always does this thing where she'll look through like the mirrors of the people behind her to see what they're doing. She did that with me when I was a kid. And she looks back there, and it's no longer a lady. It's a man.
Shapeshifter.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And so they drive across the street to go drop it off, and they're trying to get it out of the car, and it doesn't want to come out of the car. And so it took like some real convincing to get this thing out of the car. And they said they got it out of the car, which it had gone back to a female at that point. And when they got in, my mom looked back again, and it was a man again, but it didn't have no blood on it this time. And so my mom just gets in the car, locks the doors. And, of course, my aunt hadn't got out of the car, but the other sister had got out of the car. So she gets back in the car. And my mom looks in the side, as they're trying to drive away. My mom looks in the side view mirror. And then there's no human there at all. It's a coyote. And so they had later gone back, like with this experience, they like internalized it because they don't talk about these things. And to be honest, I'm going to say it, a lot of white people are not allowed on the reservation, especially Navajo, Hopi, that kind of stuff. They're not allowed on the reservation. So it's interesting to even have Jehovah's Witnesses out there preaching, God to the reservation. So when they had talked to some of the tribesmen, when they were out there, doing their stuff, they were like, it's a skinwalker. And they should have never put them in that situation to even be in the car with that, because even just acknowledging their presence can have them come back on you. And I guess the Navajo did their prayers or whatever to make sure that like everybody was safe, but they were like, never, ever, ever pick up anybody. Even if it looks like a normal human being, don't pick them up off the reservation. And I mean, you guys probably know about Skinwalker Ranch. That's only up north from there. Like if you go look up there, my mom lived up in the Show Low, Holbrook, Taylor, Snowflake area. That whole Holbrook area, you can go up there and you can see where the Navajo reservation is. And then you have the Hopi reservation. And literally where those two can join is right nearby Skinwalker Ranch.
Skinwalker Ranch is in Utah.
Yeah, Skinwalker Ranch is it in Utah or Colorado?
No, it's in
Utah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's right up there by those areas, and they talk about it.
Country.
Yeah, they talk about it all the time. Like skinwalkers are a normal thing.
There's another ranch not too far from Skinwalker that also has, I can't remember the name of it right now. They've actually talked about it on TV a few times and had it on television. But it has also the same kind of paranormal activity and sightings of the Skinwalker.
And you get a lot of alien stuff there too. With
Travis Walton was abducted in Snowflake, and that's where he lived. So, and that was back in the 70s.
It does not surprise me that areas. You can go out there in Arizona, go to Holbrook, go to Snowflake, go to Taylor, just look up at the sky. There's not a whole lot of lights there. So you get to see that whole darkness that everybody talks about of no lights. Yeah. If you could get away from the city limits just a little bit, it is so dark. You see stuff all the time out there. All the time. It's like every day.
I can't even see my dog in the backyard with all this stupid light here that I have now. That's one thing I always love to do is sky watch. And in Sedona, oh my God, you're up in the mountains and it's nothing. And you can't imagine just the stars. And you see every time I see stuff. All you got to do is look up.
Yep.
People just don't ever look up because they're busy living. All you got to do is look up and you'll see something.
I think the other thing is like when I lived out in Arizona, if you live in Phoenix or any of the major cities and you go outside, you do not see stars. Not one star. You don't see them. So you might see the brightest star, Venus. Okay. That's not even a star. It's a planet. Mm-hmm. And you'll see the moon. You see no stars. So there's no way for you to see any of these things because it's so bright. The city is so bright that it's like daylight out there.
Mm-hmm. Light
so
pollution.
You don't get that whole experience. Everybody's missing on everything. So then when I moved out here to Indiana, I saw stars and I was like, yes. I mean, the only time I saw stars was when I was deep South Phoenix in the middle of the desert or way up north in the mountains. And I could see the Milky Way galaxy like it was right there. It was amazing.
See, I have to go back because I still have a problem with if you're driving up the road. and
you're gonna haunt you all night now, Greg.
And you see somebody. First off, God-fearing or not, your ass ain't getting in my car. All right. Sorry about you, buddy.
I'll pray for somebody else to come pick you up.
you can pat and bend wherever you're going because screw you, it ain't happening.
I would never in a million years let somebody in my car like that. And just to hear that they let them, I was like, Mom, are you dumb? Like,
right.
Even to my own mom, I was like, Mom, are you dumb? Like,
Do you not watch horror films?
Like, they don't watch horror films.
That's their problem right there.
I didn't watch Freddy Krueger until I was like 22.
Oh wow!
So I was very isolated as a child. I didn't know what horror movies were or murder movies or anything like that. So like them just being so. Come on in. You can come in and get in my car.
Yeah.
Like no.
That shit ain't happening.
And there's a big rule, and like a lot of people don't know this, but there's like a big rule, especially out in Arizona. And I've pushed it onto my team. You'll hear me say it to my team too. I'll be like, if you hear whistling, I don't care where you are, don't whistle back. And it's actually happened at one of our investigations where we heard whistling, and I literally come around the corner. I'm like, who the whistled? And they all look at me like, that wasn't us. That came from back there. And I was like, don't you dare whistle back. Like, don't you dare. Because
That's an Appalachian thing, too. My mom was from Appalachia.
I always thought that was for banjos, though.
One of the rules is don't go in the woods at night and never return a whistle.
Yep, never return a whistle.
I don't know why, but
that story. Every time you tell me that story, I've watched. I don't know. I watch stupid stuff during the day because I work from home, so I watch stuff while I work, and I started on this deep dive. Of course, October, Halloween, and all that deep dive into paranormal stories. All of them. They had a story about skinwalkers in Arizona, but they were two little girls. Teenage girls, but they're little, but they were they shapeshifted into their daughters, which their daughters were in bed, but these little things are outside of their house knocking on their door, and is like black eyes, and she's like, let us in. I've been like, bitch, you can hit the road, kid or no kid, your eyes are jet black, fuck you, you're out.
I think that's a lot of misconception is people don't understand that these shapeshifters can turn into anybody or anything. So like your dog could be inside the house, but you hear your dog outside, you go look outside and you see your dog outside. It's not your dog. It's trying to get in. And like from what I have learned from like the Navajo and Hopi and stuff, one, they were created to fight the Navajo or the Hopi, one of the two. Can't remember which one. They were basically a curse to be, to take out the other tribe, basically. But the other thing is like they're not humanly killed. So if somebody turns into one of these or something turns into one of these shapeshifters, they literally have to be taken out by the tribe that has created that one. So you can go outside and shoot this coyote. It's not going to die. You're going to go back. You're going to see it not there. And you're going to be like, what the heck?
Right.
Is Zero playing with you?
Yeah, she's rolling around.
She's on one right now. She's like,
she's the best dog ever. Shush.
She is. But then she tears up a whole bunch of stuff. So then I'm like,
I got 3 pit bulls. So you talk to me about tearing up.
Oh, every bottle of water in my house, she has tore the lids off of.
Yeah, you told me that.
Gallon jugs of bottles of water.
Yeah,
and she'll
just buy them from the store the next day.
She's got the lids gone. And you're like, where's the lid?
All right. Dream investigations. Like where would be, give me your top 3.
So I would say number 1 for me, and I know this place has probably just been hyped up, but just so I can say that I've looked into it myself, I would love to go to the Amityville house in New York. I would love to go and just get one evening to do what I needed to do for that. Because I am curious. Was it all just hyped up for money, or is there some truth behind it? Did the guy just go crazy and kill everybody, or was there something driving him? So, I mean, that's my number one. Number two for me, I would really, really like to get a chance to go out. Goodness gracious. Trying to remember the name of it. Out there to the Washoe Club. I want to say it's out west. I saw it on Ghost Adventures. And
yeah. Okay.
I'm not a Baggins fan, but that place piqued my interest. That whole town really kind of piqued my interest. I'd like to get a chance to go out there, and then
in Virginia City.
It's Virginia City, Nevada.
No, it's not Nevada.
Yeah. That's where the hotel is. Virginia City is at the hotel that Zach Baggins did. I mean, Gaggins did. I mean, Baggins did.
However you want to pronounce it.
Right. That was their very first documentary, such and such, that I saw. They were at the Virginia. Yeah. And that's when they were in the ballroom. There's two of them in the ballroom, one with the camera, then Zach. And then the third guy was in supposedly another room, and a brick went across the doorway, and they were all wigging out and whatnot. And I'm like, dude, where's your third guy, bro?
Yeah, exactly. And that was my first question when I seen that. I was like, oh, that's all fun and games, and it's cool. Where's the third guy? Show me the third guy at the same time. Sync your cameras and show me where he is.
Right, yeah. Because it didn't happen if you don't show me. Yeah.
So, and then I would say my third one that I would really like to go and do would be the Lizzie Borden house. I would really like to get into there.
Yeah, I had back a good 9-10 years ago, and it has since fallen out, but I had a good contact that could have probably got us in there. And then it just kind of faded out with the whole move to Georgia thing and that whole shit show. Yeah, fuck her. But anyway,
I want to go to Gettysburg.
Yes. Yeah. Battlefield.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's my number one wish.
So I think my number one, I got to go back to my home state. I need to go investigate Tombstone, Arizona.
Oh, yes. The whole freaking town. Oh,
yeah.
Sign me up.
Sign me up.
Shut up and take my money.
Like, I want to go to
for real.
I want to go to the Birdcage Saloon. I want to go to the actual like cemetery where they have the funny headstones and stuff, and investigate.
100%.
That would be my number one. Number two, I want to go to Salem, Massachusetts. I mean, and the witch trials. I would like to investigate the witch trials area where they had them. I don't know how much of the area still exists, like the still original churches and stuff like that, where they did the crucifixions and stuff of the witches. And then number three, and I know they have a movie on it and they call it The Bell Witch, but it's not the Blair Witch Bell Witch or anything. It's about this girl. She gets, molested by her father. Her father dies for mysterious reasons, but she basically cultural activity.
Yeah.
I would like to go investigate that area.
When I first started doing podcasts and YouTube and whatnot, the co-host I had at the time, we used to do haunted histories, and she did a full story on Bell Witch, and it was pretty in depth and interesting. So yeah, I'll see if I can't find that and send it your way, because that was really cool.
And of course, I think everybody wants to go to Skinwalker Ranch at some point in time in their life.
Yeah, good luck.
I have
Don't pick up hitchhikers.
Yeah, no shit. I have no desire for skinwalkers. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, not that I want to go for the skinwalkers.
There's some pretty
part.
crazy UFO activity out there,
I would
too.
like to go for the UFO activity, and then I would like to go for the old houses that are there still on the property and go investigate those houses. I'm not saying, for the whole skinwalker part. I just mean like.
Or what about that big, huge gorge that they found where they pumped hundreds and thousands of gallons of water into it and it's just disappeared?
Yeah, I saw
never
that.
figured out where it went to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, I mean, there's certain areas there I'd like to investigate. I wouldn't investigate for skinwalkers. No, I'm not down for that. Mm-mm.
Right. Yeah.
Back where it is.
Yeah.
But-
I wouldn't do that. I there's a lot of places that I would like to go back to. I would like to do Amity because I think that 75% of that was BS.
Yep.
But I still honestly think that there was something paranormal happening there.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to go to the Conjuring House.
Yes.
I forgot about that one.
Yes.
Can I change my
Yeah.
answer?
And
That's another shut up and take my money place. Like,
Yeah, without a doubt.
Here's another place that I would like to go. I heard that it's under new management now because somebody decided to take it back. And we've denied this place for so long because of its, its history of faking evidence, history. So I would like to go to Waverly. I'm not going to lie, but I want to go to Waverly, like no other teams.
just a private.
Just a private. No, all electricity turned off, like nothing. I want nothing because I don't want there to be any of that, like even like a freaking hair of a chance that they could be, bullshitting some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love to go to Waverly.
What's the team roster? How many members?
We got. I think we're at 10, or maybe 9 or 10. Let's see. You got Danny. You have Danny. You have Felicia. You have me. There's you, of course, Greg. Then there's Ian, Sydney,
Taylor, Daniel, and then we have our junior investigator Gary. So that's 9.
Yeah.
Andy. So minimum.
Andy. Yeah, Andy is still new, but she hasn't totally joined the team yet. She still wants to check out a couple of investigations and see if that's for her. Because
and then we have the one person right now that's taken on leave of absence.
Inactive, right?
Yeah.
So it'd be technically 10.
Yeah, I think minimum head count is 10. Waverly.
I need to take.
But see the
guys talk.
Yeah. The only thing that I don't like about that is that they charge so much money.
$1,000 for a night. But I mean, if you got 10 people going, that's $100 a person.
$100 a piece, right?
Yep,
which is doable.
Yeah, it's totally doable. It's just a matter of getting everybody that at the same time to kick in that and get it set up. Because it's booked out for quite a ways. You have to schedule pretty far in advance.
Yeah, for sure. Anything like that. I mean, if you're not on it by the end of the year before, Mansfield's kind of the same way. I would totally go back to Mansfield. Mansfield was the shit. It was probably one of the most active areas that I've ever been to. I mean, it just the cell doors clanging, women screaming.
I would like to get into some prisons. There's one in Pennsylvania, Pennhurst. I'd really like to go into Pennhurst.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that's an asylum, isn't it?
What's that?
Pennhurst is an asylum, isn't it? Or is it a correctional facility?
I think it's correctional.
I couldn't remember which.
Well, I can't. There's one out there that is an asylum, and I can't remember the name of it right now. But Ghost Hunters went out there a billion times. I would try. I would like to get into an asylum.
Yep.
And do some investigating there. But I think I would also like to incorporate some sky watches or maybe some crypto investigations.
Yeah.
In Camden or Carden, I think they had a sighting of Bigfoot just a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not very far from us. And it's like, well, I've always been curious on the crypto thing. It just something that just kind of is like, wow, okay, I got to check this out. But I think overall, though, there's not really. I mean, Lizzie Borden would be definitely cool. I think that would be interesting to do. But see, the biggest thing that worries me about that too, especially like on the same line as Waverly, is that
It's so
is
hyped
there
up.
is there oversaturation?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all these big name places that have investigations all the time. I mean, we've even talked about it in different ventures with the team. You've got to have some downtime for energy to rebuild and batteries to recharge. And there are people there at these big locations all the time.
Right.
I would hate to drop 1,000 bills and go in someplace and come out with absolutely nothing.
Exactly.
That would,
And that's been our hesitation.
yeah, that would piss me off. That's why I told you, like, I really don't like to pay to play,
Exactly.
but I don't know.
So
Anyway, I would even like to get into the library here, the Willard.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
we've wanted to, and the thing that has kept us out of there is we talked to the people that we had to talk to, and they're like, we allow investigations one night a year, and it's like 5 or 6 teams that we let do it at the same time. And I'm like, no,
Hell with that.
no,
Yeah.
I'm
So we
good.
denied that real quick.
But the one
Right.
place that I am excited to get into here in Boonville, Indiana, actually is the old Boonville jail. They used to do executions in the tree that is still standing on the property.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I
Right.
really am excited to get into there. And they've already
Right.
told us, like, once it's structurally sound, and I've got somebody that's actually looking into it. She's got a contact over there. Once it's structurally sound, they said you will be the first team we let in. So it'll
Yeah,
be
excellent. That would be excellent.
I got one for you guys.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of people that go into this now for tours and stuff, but I don't know how much it's been investigated. Alcatraz.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
Alcatraz.
Oh yeah.
Just and there's a lot of jails that I would like to get into, like the court building down in Phoenix, in downtown Phoenix. That court building, like I was up there when I was a kid because my dad did a lot of drywall, and I got to go up in the jail cells. Mind you, these jail cells were outside. They were metal, like, and when I mean outside, they're in the building, but there's just air holes, like for the air from outside. There was no AC, no power, metal doors, rods, like, and we got to go in those and see them, when I was a kid, and I would love to investigate that because I mean nobody goes up there anymore, so that would be a really cool one to go to.
Hell yeah. What about you, Deb? Where you want to go?
I want to go to Gettysburg.
Yeah.
I want to go to Salem.
yeah.
But yeah, those are my 2 top ones. And then all the other places that you guys all said.
There's so
What
many
a-
different ones.
So
I want to
there's-
go to Scotland and go
Fuck
do
yeah.
a castle. I want to go to
Yes.
Ireland or Scotland and do a castle.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah,
And any castle will do.
any castle.
I want to
will
do the catacombs in Ireland.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
We're talking about hitting the lottery with this one though. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, now you're looking at airfare. But there is another one that I'm looking at too, Greg, that you might want to look into as well and tell me what you think about it that I've been watching. And it's the Beale Manor, and that's up in Toledo, Ohio, basically. It looks pretty promising. I mean,
Yeah.
it kind of has a Whisper Estate vibe to it, like, but it's newer. So, I mean, it's a newer haunt people are starting to go to. So I'm wondering if maybe it would be a little less trampled on.
Right.
I think that was.
Yeah, I would look at that.
I think that was the problem with Whisper too. It was just oversaturated.
Besides the fact that somebody lives there while lives there while you're there.
I think with Whisper, they pushed out whatever spirit that was there with the stuff that they have done internally with the house.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much other
extra
in there.
You
that
talking
doesn't
about the
belong
extra
there.
items that they've brought in?
Yeah, there's so many extra items in there that just don't belong.
I think that was a lot of the problem we had at Davies this last time. We brought those dolls that didn't belong there, and I think it really silenced a lot. I think that hurt our investigation more than it helped.
But again, that's part of trial and error of learning, and that's what we do as investigators. We test theories to see what happens with those theories, and maybe we're going to get something, maybe we're not, but that's where we learn.
Mm-hmm.
And something that works in one place might not work in another.
Exactly. I mean, I've been to investigations where I haven't gotten a single EVP, but I've gotten other things on video. Like it's hit and miss.
What about Newburgh?
There's a lot of places in Newburgh. There's the one storefront where they see the little boy. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
I forget what it's called.
I told you about. It's right on the corner on.
I think it's a dress shop or something like that. Or
on the corner of 261 and yeah, I know what you're talking about. Right there downtown.
Yeah, right there on the riverfront.
Yeah, it's right there on the riverfront. And then there's another one where the lady in white, or lady in waiting. I'm sorry, the lady in waiting. So she stands on the top of it's called a Maiden's Walk, I think it is, where they can look out onto the river. Well, I guess she used to stand there all the time waiting for her husband or boyfriend or whoever to come back. And then he never came back and she died. And you can still every once in a while catch her up there. But again, you're talking about homes that are privately owned now that somebody actually lives in. And whether they would want that kind of publicity or anything going
getting
to their
them
house.
to let you do that can be a challenge sometimes.
I know they do the haunted walks and they'll talk about a lot of the history of Newburgh, but it's just like Boonville. Like we're Boonville, Indiana Paranormal, and we haven't done a whole lot in Boonville, and that's because a lot of places just don't want you to go in to do it.
One we're working on right now, or that we put our historian on, is the Legend of Black Annie. Like that's a huge one in this area. Like everybody's heard of it, and yet nobody really has like buckled down and done the research to find exactly where the building's at and things like that. There's speculation, but there's no real like, okay, I'm going to get a hold of the zoning commission and find out where this structure used to be. Like, because you can find that information out. It's just a matter of doing the legwork.
Yeah.
Right.
I would love
for sure.
the Black Annie one because that one's so.
Have you heard the Legend of Black Annie, Greg?
Just from you guys.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a transplant. I mean, I lived up north probably, the majority of my life. So we've only been down here for 6 years, I think. And I didn't do a whole lot of paranormal stuff until I really started getting the itch and I had to get back out in the field. And so yeah, just the stuff that you guys have told me about it, that it sounds really interesting, and I think it definitely will be a good investigation if we were able to get onto that.
I think
what was that place you were talking about in Atlanta?
The Rhodes Hotel.
There's another one also. The Asher Walton Hotel is there as well.
It's like a block up from it. So
they're like right next door.
Two haunted places. They can totally do that. I don't know if they'll let you stay at the Rhodes. I don't know if they do that. But
I don't know either. They did at Asher Walton, but I'm not sure. It's been a while since I was there. I got some great EVPs there.
Asher.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the Rhodes Hotel, a group that I used to be pretty close with, one of the members owns it. So, and their prices are really reasonable. The only thing is, I mean, it's a little bit of a drive. It's like Kokomo.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
But it, man, some of the EVPs and activity that we got out of that house was just crazy. It was really cool. but it's definitely a place to check out. It really, it will not let you down for sure.
Yeah, for
So,
real.
There's a place that we were wanting to go to, which was Third Street Saloon. I think it's Third Street
Here in
Saloon
Boonville.
in Boonville. But our problem is it's a working operating saloon, so
Right.
getting it on a weekend is like almost impossible.
We'd have to do it on
But
Sunday.
they have, like several
Well-
of the waitresses and wait staff have been like, the radio upstairs will turn on.
The jukebox,
The
yeah.
jukebox will turn on.
And it'll play music that isn't on the jukebox.
Yeah.
Really?
That's fun.
Yes.
That's fun.
And then they were telling us that when they bought it, the original hand carved saloon that was downstairs,
yeah.
the bar downstairs, they actually had a crane come out. They pulled it out from the bottom floor and had to move it to the top floor for the top bar. So there's 2-level bar.
Uh-huh.
And that one up there is like hand carved, like it's ornate, like it's so nice. And like the energy that comes off that bar just itself, you can just feel it radiating off of it. And I'm like, oh, we got to do this place. But again, it's a working bar. So good luck.
Is it
Yeah.
open during the day?
Oh yeah, we've went in and ate there. They have great food.
Oh, okay.
And the cool thing is you can feel the energy in that place. Like it's like
Yeah.
I would be sneaking in my EVP
Oh, we
recorder
did.
in my purse.
we did. They were in the pockets of our hoodies. We took them with us.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Yeah.
everybody else wanted us to do it, like all the wait staff.
Yeah, the entire
wait
staff.
staff wanted us to do it, but
It's just getting the owner to
it's
allow
getting
it.
the owner to allow it. So
No, maybe we go hard press them.
Right?
you're right. Show
You
up
know?
as a big group with all their shirts on.
Be
and
like, what's it going to
"Let's
take
go."
to shut you down for one?
Right.
One night?
Well, I think, maybe 3 or 4 of us just go up there and talk to him. Be like, hey, bro, this is the story. This is what we do. Your wait staff and others have been saying there's activity and kind of go from there.
One of their
there's-
strippers actually posted online, like he's
Oh, yeah.
he's done like these like little
Mini videos.
where he's been on, and he'll come on and he'll be like, guys, the stereo just turned on all by itself and it's playing like this and this music, and he's like,
Wow.
we just put all these chairs up on the tables, and we came back up,
And
and
the
they're
chairs will be down.
all down on the floor, like, and
They've had
Nice.
knock bottles off of the bar.
yeah,
Oh, you guys got to get in there.
Oh yeah.
Hell
I
yeah.
want to so bad. And like, again, it might be kind of trampled on because there's a lot of people that go there, party on the weekends, whatever. But with it having as much energy to do all the crazy stuff that it is doing, I think that it just I might do it.
I don't think it'd be
Yeah.
too bad, seeing as how
No.
nobody's investigated it.
Yeah.
Right. I think, and 2, I think it feeds off the energy of the people that are in there in the bar doing the
Exactly.
party. One place I did want to say that I definitely want to go to at one point in my time before I die, my bucket list, I want to go to the Myrtles. You've never heard of the Myrtles?
No, I have. I'm just trying
Yeah.
to place
I
it.
haven't heard of it.
It's in, I believe, South Carolina.
Okay.
Is it on Myrtle Beach?
No. It's a plantation.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh wow, yeah, that would be loaded.
And it's supposed to be like top rated activity. Things manifest in the mirrors. Like if you're looking in the mirror getting ready or something, faces will manifest in the mirrors.
Oh crap.
It's a wild story. I'll find a story, I'll link it to you so you can kind of look at it, but it's pretty badass.
What do you think about the Stanley Hotel out in Colorado?
I have heard positive things about it as far as activity.
Mm-hmm.
It's pricey.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's super pricey. But
Yeah, you'll never get
you
it
know,
by yourself unless you're like
no.
a big TV.
Now there's a hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas called the Crescent Hotel. It used to be a sanatorium, and this mad doctor did all kinds of experiments on all these sick people and down in the basement and whatnot. And now it's a hotel, and it's old, but I spent the night there one night. I was speaking at the Eureka Springs UFO conference. It's like one of the oldest UFO conferences. And one night we got a room at the at the Crescent.
Mhm.
We ate dinner there one time before that and upstairs, and we decided we got to get a room. So we got a room. And the K2 meter was going crazy. We got EVPs that the doors opened and closed by themselves. That place is brilliant. It's rich, and it wasn't that expensive. If you can't get them to, I don't know if they do ghost tours. By the way, they'll do you a ghost tour with a group, take you down through the basement where all the crazy shit happened and all that. But my friend just got a hotel room and just spent the night there. And it is a cool place. And I've heard of it on other paranormal TV shows and stuff. So I mean, it's pretty well known.
Yeah.
And it's reasonably priced, and it's not that far away. Well, it is. I mean, Eureka Springs, Arkansas, but still.
Yeah,
So,
still.
I don't know whether I told you, Greg, about the old people's home that used to be here in Chandler.
Yes. Yes, you did.
That one, okay, so we had a running joke about it. So this old people's home was there, and they did some unseemly things to the elderly people there, like
Horrible. State shut them down.
They were like starving them, bed sores, different stuff like that.
Rolling them back and forth down the hall like a ball in their wheelchair.
Yeah, like tossing them back and forth in a wheelchair like they're a ball. And so I don't condone this, by the way. This was before I was with the society, before all this. But
right.
We had kind of snuck in there a couple times, and went in there just to look around. It was an old abandoned building, and all the stuff was still in there. It was really weird. It was like the medical equipment was still in there, but they just cut the cords on it. That's all they did. They left all the medical equipment in there. The beds, the mattresses were still in there. The frames were still in there. But you could tell other people had been in there. Like some stupid people like put like red painted footprints on the floor and painted a pentagram and stuff. And we're like, oh, that's just bull. But the basement was where it was at, because we had gone down there and I had put on some like muck boots, and it was filled with water. And the water was so deep it even went over my muck boots, by the way. Not condoning this by any means, because not safe at all.
Right.
And we went in there and we were walking around, just looking around, because that's where the washers and dryers were. And this home was for elderly people, but yet there was paintings on the wall of children's stuff. Like, it was really weird in the basement. And so we were walking out because we were going to leave, and we walk out and I hear behind us, mind you, like half the people that were with me had their shoes off, and we're walking barefoot, and I had to end up taking my muck boots off because they were just filled with water. So like I was going with just my socks, wet socks and stuff. And we hear chains dragging behind us, like metal chains. And I just turn around and look back, and I'm like, what the was that? Like, and none of us had chains. None of us, it sounded like somebody was dragging a steel chain on the ground, just dragging it. And everybody's all like, that wasn't me. That wasn't me. And so I even went back down and look down the hallways to see like if anybody else was down there, and there was nothing there. There was no way that there was no chains anywhere for anybody to even do it down there.
That's wild.
But this place, they ended up I don't know who bought the property, but they ended up leveling this place.
Building condominiums.
And building condominiums on top of it. And
that'll piss off some spirits.
That's what we said.
We were both joking, and we were like, we're going to go around and pass out flyers and business cards, because we just know. There's a bunch of stuff in there that's just really weird. And you would get sounds all the time in there while you're walking through there. Like, it'd sound like somebody was groaning or crying, or just disembodied voices, people talking. There's nobody in there but you guys, and you're like,
even just pulling into the parking lot and looking at the building, you feel like you're being watched from the inside.
Right. And then they just level it and put condos on top of it. And I'm like, Oh, like I wonder how. I was like, okay, Billy, as soon as they're done and they move in, I give it 30 days and we go put some cards over there, and that's we're gonna get people calling us.
Oh,
We
yeah,
have-
I would almost imagine sooner than that, to be honest.
Yeah. Because I definitely believe that I believe in that whole theory of like, if you move into somewhere that's haunted, you've got about 30 days before shit gets real.
Mm.
And it realizes that you're not leaving and you realize it's there. And
Right.
that's when it's going to get thick and you're going to start having some issues. And especially with disgruntled people that have been mistreated or
Angry, especially something
angry.
like that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I could see that being very, very angry, very, very
Hostile.
resentful spirits there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's 100% pissed off.
Oh
All
yeah.
yeah.
over that place, I bet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So,
crazy the places that you go to.
right.
But there's so many places I want to go to. Like you asked me for my top 3 and I'm like, well, there's like a freaking 100.
Yeah, and there is, and that's really not a fair question. That's like asking somebody in an interview, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't even know where I'm going tomorrow, let alone 5
Right,
years.
right.
The only thing that like stops us on some pulling the gun on some of the places is, one, a lot of places charge a lot of money, and then if you're lucky, you'll find a place where you can stay the night.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have to pay for board.
Otherwise, you have to pay for a hotel room, and mind you, you get into this place and you have to set up your equipment, and then as soon as it's dark, you start, and then you run until 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then go back home because you don't have anywhere to sleep. Or if you get a hotel room, like, you're only going to get it for a few hours because they check outs at 11. So
Right.
it's like pick your poison. So most of the places that, and then they charge so much, and a lot of people don't want to tell you that their house is haunted, and they don't want people to come out and investigate their house unless they're having something very traumatic happening at that point in time.
Yeah.
So
Well, and that's unfortunate too. I mean, and it's always been like that. I mean, I've got, stuff going on in my house, but I can't tell anyone because everyone will think I'm crazy.
yep.
And that's what we've tried to get out there in our community and the surrounding areas, is that we are literally going to listen to what you have to say, and we're going to let the evidence speak for itself.
Right.
We don't judge, and we're just going to collect evidence and look at it non-biasedly. Like, that's like one of our biggest thing is like, of course we live in an area that's like heavily Christian. Well, just because you're Christian doesn't mean you can't have ghosts, and just because you're Christian doesn't mean your neighbor's crazy because they're hearing ghosts. Like,
right.
We don't judge anybody for any of this stuff. Like, I don't even judge people on their religion.
And even if we don't find anything, we're like, okay, we didn't find anything this time. That doesn't mean what you're saying is not true. It's not saying that this isn't happening to you.
Maybe we need to come out and do a couple investigations to get it to warm up to us, to get us, to get it to understand we're there to get some answers.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's like a break-in period.
Mm-hmm.
The spirits were people. I mean, you just walking into somebody's house, you're not going to carry on a full-on conversation with somebody. You got to fill them out. You got to, or do you vibe? Is it going to be, a shitty conversation? Spirit knows that.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, spirits are just like us humans. They have anxieties. They have social anxieties. They have, where they just don't like somebody because they don't like somebody, And then a lot of these spirits, think about it. If you go to some of these really older places, a lot of these spirits were like in the Victorian era or, older eras where everything that we have is alien to them. And then our clothing is alien. Our hair is alien. So they don't want to mess with this stuff.
Yeah.
And
it's witchcraft to them.
It's witchcraft to them.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and especially in some of those time periods, it really was witchcraft. Like they literally thought it was witchcraft.
If we lived back in the Salem days, we'd all be getting burned at the stake for the things we did.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Right.
That's why my husband would have killed me long before now.
This is the first time they heard me say I had a dream about somebody hanging themselves coming to me in my dream, and then they found out that it had happened before. They're like, "Oh, witch burn!"
Felicia barbecue.
Felicia barbecue. That's exactly what it is.
All right, you guys, put out your Facebook page so our listeners and watchers can come out and check out the page.
Boonville, Indiana Paranormal Society on Facebook.
Yep.
We have two. We have a page and a member page, so we're on there.
We're working on figuring out a website, but once we get that up and running, that'll all be posted to our group. So yeah, they can just join us there, and we post all of our evidence that we find that we feel is legitimately something. And we post it all there for you guys to see too. So feel free.
I encourage you guys, go out and take a look at it. There's some really good audio out there for you guys to look at. Check out the page, and website is in the works. We're going to get on that and get it all posted out for you. We'll have everything for you.
And they can always come to our page and just ask us questions, or maybe they're having a problem and they need some help. They can always come.
We don't charge to investigate. The only thing that we ask our folks is that you remember that when you schedule an investigation with us, that we are blocking that time out for you, and please follow through on it, because unfortunately we do work, regular daytime jobs, and when we block out that time, we really are counting on you following through. So
don't waste my time.
Exactly. Don't waste my time, and I'll figure out what's going on for you.
Exactly.
You get a lot of cancellations, and that's not fun.
Right. Also on the Facebook page, you guys, you can go out there and put your own personal stories, your own tales, and tell us what's happened to you, where if you want, where you live, if you want us to come out and do an investigation, put it out there, and we'll more than happily be able to answer questions for you, or concerns, or anything like that. So
absolutely.
Or if you've caught something on video or
share things that you think you caught. We'll give you our opinion on it.
Oh yeah.
Sure. All right, you guys. Well, I appreciate 100% for you guys to come on and talk with us tonight, and we'll do this again.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we went 2 hours, and it doesn't seem like it was 2 hours.
And barely scratched
the surface.
Right. So there's so much more to do. So we'll definitely do this again.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I will talk to you guys a little later.
All right.
Oh, and so you guys know too, remember, go to YouTube and look for Midwest Paratalk Radio. And this will be up in the video section on that page. It'll be on multiple podcast platforms. All that is able to be getting through the podcast, through the podcast page at podomatic.com. You can go over there to that, look for Midwest Paratalk Radio. We got multiple episodes up there right now, but and you can go to midwestparatalkradio.com and listen to the podcasts and stuff there. You can also contact us through that page. So again, guys, thank you very much. And I will talk to you soon. And we'll see everybody next week. Thank you for hanging out with Midwest Paratalk Radio here on the WMPP Radio Network. You can catch Deb and Greg on YouTube at Midwest Paratalk Radio. You can also catch us on all podcast platforms. Just search Midwest Paratalk Radio. We will see you next week.